with that said, we'll go through each of these four different fields and do a little bit of a self-assessment here before you get started with the personality metrics itself. So, in order to answer the question, introvert or extrovert, think about this. Friday night comes along and you've had a pretty stressful week. You've had a lot of schoolwork, you've had a lot to do with your jobs, you haven't had a lot of time to relax one way or the other, and so Friday night finally arrives. What do you want to spend your evening doing? On one hand, you could go out with a group of friends and maybe go to a party, or maybe hang out in a coffee house and talk. Maybe you'll throw a party and have a whole bunch of people over so that you can goof off and cut loose with people around. On the other hand, you might feel more comfortable staying home by yourself, maybe having one or two friends over, a small group, or by yourself doing something indoors without crowds, without a whole bunch of people. Now, with those two extremes, maybe you sometimes feel one way, maybe you sometimes feel the other, and it depends on exactly how stressed you are. But if you had to choose between going out with a large group of people or staying home by yourself or with a very small group of people, which one is more appealing? When it comes to sensing and intuition, here's the question to think about. If you look at this cup right here, take a couple of moments to write down a brief description of this cup. Any adjectives that might come to mind at all. And hopefully you haven't looked ahead in the PowerPoint. But the way that we describe the world can either be based upon the physical things that we see, or maybe it will be based upon concepts and ideas and the broader sense of things. Another way to think about this question is to look at how you respond to works of art. Take a moment, go do a Google search and look up French Impressionism. When you look at a museum piece, a work of classical art, how do you describe the picture that you're seeing? On one hand, you might say, this picture has very good use of color. I like the way that the flowers look, or I like the detail, or I like the pose, or we can see a relationship of this person doing something. On the other hand, you could describe the work in a more abstract way. This painting makes me feel happy. It captures the feeling of love. It's trying to tell me about religion or a man's relationship with his father and finding some sort of meaning in the picture. So if you look at a work of art and you see what it is physically, the colors, the objects, the relation, the details of what is captured in the frame and the scene that is portrayed, that is sensing. But if you look for symbolism, for abstraction, for concepts, for what the artist's message is, that's more intuition. The question I like to ask when it comes to thinking versus feeling, is how you respond to a difficult child. So let's say that you're in a restaurant and you're halfway through your meal, having a good time, everything's going great, and a family comes in and they sit down at the table right next to you and they have a toddler. And for whatever reason, the toddler is crying and wailing and making a fuss and throws its food everywhere, and there's a big old mess, and the parents are just sort of oblivious, letting it happen. How do you respond to that situation? On one hand, you might say, the parents are horrible parents. The child is being disruptive. The restaurant should do something. Someone should either calm the child down or remove the child from the area. It's disturbing everyone here. It's not how a restaurant should be. The child is misbehaving and it needs to be corrected. The situation needs to be fixed. On the other hand, you might say, oh, that poor child, I wonder if he has an earache. I wonder if he has a toothache. I wonder what's happening to have upset this child. The parents, maybe the kid does this all the time. Maybe this is a parenting approach. They're trying to ignore him to get him to calm down. Oh, I feel sorry for them to have to put up with this all the time. So that's the big distinction here. If you're more concerned with the rules, what should be, correcting the situation, and how it's impacting the world, that's thinking. That's more of a logic-based approach. But if you empathize with the child or the parents, and you're concerned with the cause in this situation, you're empathizing, trying to figure out what's going on, that would be feeling. And lastly, we have judging and perceiving. With this, imagine your Friday night. You have plans, and whatever those plans are doesn't particularly matter, but you've been looking forward to it all week. You have a schedule in mind and you know what you're going to be doing that evening. But Friday afternoon you get a call and it turns out it's someone in your family. They need help moving and they have to pack up a bunch of boxes. They need to move a couch and they really need the help right now. Can you come over? How do you feel about that sudden change in your plans? So if you look at it from the I've already got plans, therefore I can't go do this, or I've got plans and now that it's been interrupted, I'm upset, I'm angry, this is kind of ruined my whole weekend, it's ruined my night, that would be a judging. Someone who likes to stick to routine and to know what's going to come along, someone who likes to plan ahead. On the other hand, if this doesn't bother you at all, if you're a go with the flow and you say, well, I can just push things back, it's not a big deal, reschedule what I was going to do, I can make time for you, and you're fine with it, that's more of a perceiving, a flexible, unscheduled, go with the flow person. Another way to look at this is how you spend vacations. My wife and I, we always disagree on this one. When I plan a vacation, I will plan hour by hour where we should be, what we should be doing so that we can maximize our vacation time at a location. And we'll go see a movie at this time, then we're going to go get lunch, and then we have 30 minutes of free time, and then we have to be at the venue for this show, and then we're going to get dinner, and I have it all planned out, and my wife will just, oh, this is interesting, can we stop here? I know that we're supposed to be there, and maybe we'll be late, but I want to go shopping. So she's a very spontaneous person, and that's kind of encapsulated the difference between these two personality types.